Imagine waking up in a world without electricity, medicine, or modern comforts, where survival depends not on knowledge, but on brute endurance. Why you wouldn't last. 24 hours in medieval times takes you on a harrowing journey through a single day in the 14th century, seen through the eyes of a modern outsider. From the choking stench of peasant huts and backbreaking labor to contaminated food, public executions, and the brutal realities of war, this story reveals the raw, unforgiving truth of medieval life. It's not just a tale of history, it's a test of survival, where even privilege offers no safety and superstition replaces science. Step into the past, if you dare. But beware, you may not last until morning. You open your eyes to the low hum of a distant bell. The sound is foreign yet strangely familiar, hollow and echoing as if cast through centuries. It isn't the digital chime of your morning alarm, nor the hum of traffic below your window. No, this sound is older, ancient. It cuts through the haze in your mind, sudden and razor-sharp. You sit up abruptly and realize the air is wrong. The air is thick, not just with mist or morning chill, but with smoke, manure, and the pungent stench of unwashed bodies. There's no comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, no hum of city life, no distant blare of car horns. Only the clatter of wooden wheels on cobblestone, the bleating of goats tethered to posts, and voices, dozens of them, shouting over each other in a tangle of strange syllables and grunts. Dazed, you scramble to your feet and slowly turn in place. Around you bustles a 14th century English village. People in coarse, dirt-stained tunics shuffle through the muddy streets. Hens flap near your legs. A woman dumps a bucket of dark, sloshing liquid into a ditch, snaking through the village like a diseased vein. You recoil as the smell hits you, urine and rot, mixed with wood smoke and a stench you can't quite identify. You've slipped through time. A time traveler with no warning, no guide, no tools, no way back. Panic rises, but you swallow it. First things first, communication. You step toward a pair of men chatting near a well. "Excuse me," you say, trying to keep your voice calm. They stop mid-conversation and glance at you, eyebrows raised. One responds, but his words sound mangled, guttural, Middle English. You catch a word here or there, whiff, bread, church, but it's like trying to read a page where half the letters are missing. You try again, slower, louder. "Where am I?" More confusion. The second man mutters something to the first, then both laugh, shake their heads, and walk off. You're alone, speechless, like a mute among strangers. You approach a small group of women carrying baskets of what looks like turnips and root vegetables. Their language sounds different. French, you realize. High-born speech. Nobles, perhaps. Behind them, a robed man crosses the square, muttering softly in Latin as he thumbs a rosary. Modern English? Here, it might as well be meaningless noise. You've been rendered voiceless in the most fundamental way. Your stomach growls violently. You've had nothing since yesterday, maybe longer. Time already feels warped. Desperate, you scan the square. That's when you see him. A boy, barefoot, muddy to the knees, sitting against a wall with a satchel at his side. He meets your eyes and grins, showing a mouth full of jagged yellowed teeth. From his bag, he pulls a piece of bread, dense, brown, and hard as stone. With a flick of his wrist, he tosses it toward you. You barely manage to catch it. "Thanks," you whisper, even though he doesn't understand. The bread feels heavy in your hand. You hesitate, then bite. Immediately, your teeth jar from the crunch. It's like biting into a handful of pebbles. You inspect the interior, dark, grainy, flecked with something pale and sharp. Stone chips. You recall vaguely how grain in the Middle Ages was ground between massive stones that often chipped and crumbled into the flour. People back then didn't have stronger teeth. They just had fewer left by age 30. But worse still is the taste. Bitter, earthy, with an unmistakable moldy tang. It's rye, but nothing like the kind you'd find in an artisan bakery. There's a chance it's tainted with ergot, a fungus that poisons the nervous system. You try to spit it out, but your hunger overrides your caution. You swallow, already regretting it. Within minutes, a slow burn begins in your stomach. You rub your belly as the nausea creeps upward. The edges of buildings blur and ripple, like reflections in a puddle after a stone has been thrown. Was it the ergot, or just hunger? You can't tell. You stumble to the village edge where a stone basin catches runoff from a nearby roof. Water. At last. You lean in, ready to cup your hands, but a strong grip jerks you backward. An older man, his face lined and filthy, shakes his head violently and says something stern. You don't need translation. He points instead to a wooden mug hanging on his belt. With one hand he fills it from a jug and passes it to you. You sniff it. Ale. Warm, sour, low-alcohol ale. You hesitate, but he gestures firmly. You drink. It's flat and musty, like someone left it out in the sun for days. But it doesn't taste like sewage, so you keep drinking. You're only later told, through broken gestures and miming, that water here is riddled with human waste. Drinking it could give you dysentery, cholera, typhoid. The ale, brewed and fermented, is safer. Even the children drink it. A girl no older than 5 sips from her father's mug beside you, her lips puckering at the taste. The idea that beer is safer than water feels surreal, but this is the 14th century. By nightfall, your head throbs with dehydration and strange ale. Your gut feels like it's been tied in a knot. You lean against the outer wall of a stable, watching a peasant boy chase a chicken into the dusk. The world spins slowly. This is just your first day. And already you understand what modern people forget so easily. You wouldn't last 24 hours in medieval times, not because you're weak, but because this world is too strong, too raw, too cruel. You take shelter in what could barely be called a hut. It's a low, crumbling structure of wattle and daub, barely taller than you. The roof is thatch, sagging and patchy. The door creaks as you enter, and immediately you're enveloped by darkness and stench. There's no chimney, only a hole in the roof that lets out more smoke than light. A small fire smolders in a dirt pit at the center of the room, coughing up fumes that sting your eyes and cling to your lungs. The walls sweat with damp. The floor is bare earth strewn with straw, and in one corner a pig snuffles near someone's feet. The space is a single room. Everything and everyone is here. People, animals, bedding, tools, and food. A woman crouches near the fire, stirring a pot that smells of boiled turnips and bitterness. A man leans against the far wall, sharpening a blade with slow, deliberate strokes. He eyes you, not unkindly, but with the cold suspicion of someone who's seen too much of the world to trust it. There's no privacy here, no walls, no quiet, no space to be alone. This is home to 6 or 7 people, plus their livestock, and they're all piled into this box of heat and rot. You try to find a corner, away from the animals. A goat sniffs your leg. You try not to flinch. The smell is overwhelming, a suffocating mix of sweat, smoke, manure, damp wool, and a metallic scent you can't quite identify. It's worse than anything you've ever known. Your modern senses, so used to sterile air and climate control, are overwhelmed. You gag quietly into your sleeve. Nobody here smells it. To them, this is normal. You hear a sharp groan behind you. In the corner, half concealed beneath rough linen, a woman lies on her back, legs spread, sweat pouring from her brow. A girl barely old enough to be more than a child kneels beside her, clutching a cloth that's already soaked red. No midwife, no clean linens, no anesthesia, no knowledge of hygiene, no hope for safety. The woman screams again, her voice raw with agony. Another contraction, another groan. Someone mutters a prayer under their breath. You can't watch. You turn away. That's when you hear coughing, harsh, hacking, relentless. From the shadows, a toddler lurches forward, gasping between spasms. His face is pale, his lips cracked, his eyes sunken. His small chest rattles like dry leaves caught in the wind. You instinctively step forward to help, but stop yourself. What could you possibly do? Whooping cough, maybe, or measles. In this time, either one could kill him. Likely will. You look around. Nobody seems alarmed. No one rushes to isolate the child. There are no antibiotics, no clinics, no concept of infection. Just hope and endurance, and often loss. You step outside, needing air, only to almost slip and fall. Your boot slides through a foul puddle just beyond the threshold. Someone has emptied a chamber pot directly into the street. It spills into a shallow roadside ditch, merging with a foul stream winding through the village. You cover your mouth and nose, but it barely helps. A woman passing by shouts, "Gardy Lou!" as she hurls another wave of waste from a second-story window. You jump back just in time. The phrase you later learn is bastardized French, "Prenez garde à l'eau," a warning to watch out below. But really, it's a hollow gesture in a world without sanitation, sewers, or dignity. Flies buzz hungrily around your face. You swat at them, wincing as you begin to understand. Food poisoning is the least of your concerns here. Disease is everywhere, and it is winning. Down the street, a commotion. A man, barefoot and bruised, is being dragged by two others toward a wooden frame in the village square. The Stalks. They shove his feet through the bottom, clamp the wooden boards over his ankles and wrists, and lock them shut. You ask a passerby what he did. They frown, confused, then mime someone speaking with a wagging hand and a scowl. He spoke ill of the local lord. That's all it took. The crowd gathers, slow and malicious. Children laugh. A woman throws a mushy turnip that splatters across his face. Another person tosses something far worse. You step back, horrified. This is justice in medieval times. Public shame, pain, and degradation. If someone had accused you of theft, the punishment could have been far worse. They might have bound your hands and tossed you into the river. If you sank, it meant God had cleared your name, but you'd still drown. If you floated, that meant you were guilty, and they'd hang you anyway. Your stomach tightens. And then a scream, a real one. From the church square, you race to see and find a crowd gathered beneath the gallows. A man hangs limp by the neck, his eyes bulging, his tongue protruding. A loaf of bread lies at the base of the gallows. He stole it, you hear someone say. He was starving. You feel the remnants of your own stolen bread churning in your gut. That stale, gritty lump from earlier that you'd devoured in desperation. Was that really a crime worth hanging for? You think it might have been. And now you're not just a visitor in a different time. You're a suspect. You've tried to keep your head down, to avoid drawing attention. But someone notices you, a lanky man with a patchy beard and a chipped wooden badge hanging from his belt. He shouts something you don't understand, but the meaning is clear when he shoves a shovel into your hands and points toward a growing pile of rocks near the field's edge. You try to object, shaking your head, gesturing with open palms, hoping he'll realize you're not from here. But that only seems to make him angrier. A few more villagers glance your way. Suspicion spreads quickly here. Refusing work looks like laziness, or worse, defiance. That kind of behavior can end badly in a society that runs on obedience and hierarchy. So, you start digging. The earth is hard, packed with centuries of foot traffic and livestock waste. Blisters form on your palms almost instantly. Sweat stings your eyes. The padded tunic someone tossed at you is thick and scratchy, and the midday sun only makes it worse. Your body isn't made for this. Maybe it never will be, but you dig because not digging feels more dangerous. Then a commotion. You hear hoofbeats, fast and urgent. Two messengers on horseback ride into the village square, yelling to anyone who'll listen. One of the older villagers beside you spits into the dirt and groans. You strain to understand, piecing together fragments of conversation, panicked expressions, and frantic gestures. The local lord is raising men. There's a skirmish coming. No one says where or why, only that everyone able-bodied must march. It's not a request. You're handed off to a bearded man with a rusted helmet and an air of authority. He sizes you up, frowns, then waves you toward the growing crowd of peasants assembling on the outskirts of town. By sundown, you're among hundreds. Some are boys, barely old enough to hold a tool. Others are men twice your age with hands like bark and faces like stone. There are no real weapons, not for commoners. Some have wooden spears tipped with sharpened scrap. Others clutch rusted scythes or hammers repurposed from farm life. Pitchforks, hatchets, clubs. It's a desperate ragtag militia. Only a handful of knights ride among them, gleaming in full plate armor, their horses better fed than any of the men around you. The armor gleams in the fading light, as if it came from another world. These men are nobility. Their armor is as much a symbol of status as protection. They'll lead from behind. You'll bleed at the front. A boy no older than 16 hands you a gambeson, a padded jacket stiff with old sweat and dried blood. No helmet, no sword. Just an itchy quilted jacket that, if you're lucky, might soften a blow enough to keep you alive a few seconds more. There are no tents, no beds, no rations. You're told to sleep on the ground, which is cold and uneven, dotted with dried manure and sharp stones. Around you, the men try to eat, bread as hard as wood, and salted meat that smells more like rot than food. You don't sleep. You lie there, staring at the stars and praying to gods you've never believed in that this is only a bad dream. At dawn, you're jolted awake by shouting. The attack begins. You don't even know whether to run or to fight. The field is a mess of shouts, smoke, and steel. Someone pushes you forward. You stumble, almost trip over a fallen man already groaning. You clutch your club with both hands, your knuckles white. Then the screaming starts. It's everywhere, men yelling in pain, in rage, in fear. The clashing of blades, the hiss of arrows. The man beside you collapses. You freeze, you can't breathe, you can't move. Then instinct takes over. You run, you drop the club and weave between men locked in combat. No one notices you. They're too busy trying not to die. You run until your lungs feel like they'll burst, until the screams fade into echoes behind you. When you finally stumble back into the village, your legs are shaking, your clothes soaked in sweat. But it's not over. The village has been looted. Sacks of grain are torn open. Doors are broken. A barn smoulders in the distance. Livestock are gone. The few villagers left wander in a daze. Some are weeping. One woman kneels over a pile of ashes that might once have been her home. Enemy troops had swept through while you were gone. This is how armies survive, by stealing from those too weak to fight back. It's the medieval version of support the troops. Take what you need. Leave ruin behind. You sink beside the ruins of a burned cottage, too numb to shed a tear. An old man sits beside you and speaks softly in broken words. You catch fragments, sieges, starvation, dogs, rats, even flesh. Stories of towns under siege for months, years even, where the trapped slowly lost their humanity. You close your eyes, your hands are blistered, your stomach is empty, your soul is fraying. This war isn't fought with honor, it's fought with hunger, fire, and fear. And here in this age, there are no heroes, only survivors. Whether by strange fortune or simple pity, a noblewoman takes you in. She spots you from the back of a carriage as you limp through the village, bruised, blistered, and dazed. Your strange clothes, your foreign speech, your shell-shocked gaze, they intrigue her. She orders her footman to stop and summon you. Moments later, you're seated beside a roaring hearth inside a stone manor house, the kind you've only seen in museums or historical dramas. You barely comprehend how you got here, but for the first time since your strange arrival, you're finally wrapped in warmth. The room is filled with soft furs, the scent of beeswax candles, and the heavy aroma of roasted meat and sweetened wine. Servants move like shadows, heads bowed. The lady herself is tall and regal. Her voice is melodic, her expression curious yet kind. For one day, you see the other side of medieval life, the side hidden from the smoke-choked huts and blighted fields. At supper, you dine beside her on gilded wooden plates, the rim inlaid with intricate symbols. She offers you slices of venison in a rich, creamy sauce, followed by a fig tart, glistening with honey. You take a sip of red wine from a crystal goblet, its rim catching the firelight with dazzling beauty. But something is wrong. The wine leaves a strange metallic aftertaste on your tongue. At first you think it's just the strength of the alcohol, but no. A servant, chatty and unaware of your alarm, explains that the goblets and dishes are glazed with lead to give them their shine and washability. It works best with acidic food and wine, she adds, with a knowing wink. Your heart sinks. You know what they don't. Lead is poison. It seeps into the food and drink, accumulates in the body, and attacks the nervous system. Symptoms don't appear immediately. You feel fine for the moment. But your fate may already be sealed. As you sit quietly, trying not to draw attention, your eyes drift to the youngest child of the household, a boy of perhaps 7, dressed in fine velvet, playing with wooden toys near the hearth. You watch him for a moment. His hands tremble slightly, his eyes seem unfocused, cloudy. He drools occasionally, then wipes it away with the back of his hand. You ask a servant, softly, if he is ill. She leans closer and whispers, "The Lord thinks he's been cursed. Or perhaps the devil has touched him." You don't respond. You know the truth. Chronic lead poisoning. It's not a curse, it's the cup. Later that evening, a baker arrives with baskets of bread, still warm from the oven. The aroma is familiar. Too familiar. You glance at the loaves and your stomach clenches. It's rye, just not the safe kind. You remember the term St. Anthony's fire, a sickness caused by ergot, the same fungus-laced grain you tasted on your first day. You recall its symptoms: burning limbs, hallucinations, gangrene, toes and fingers turning black, falling off. You decline politely. Your host seems puzzled but lets it pass. Then the bells toll. The manor empties as townsfolk gather for an event in the church square. Another public execution. You follow at a distance, dread already pooling in your chest. The condemned is a young woman, shaking violently as she's tied to the stake. The priest reads her sentence. Witchcraft. Witnesses say she convulsed, screamed in strange tongues, collapsed with her limbs twisting unnaturally. You know what it was, a seizure, likely triggered by lead or ergot or both. But here, it's superstition that rules, not reason, not medicine. There is no diagnosis, only blame, only fire. The flames rise, the crowd cheers, children watch with curiosity, some laugh. You can't take it anymore. You run through alleyways past the smouldering ruins of a former bakery, over a broken fence, and straight into the woods. Your feet are numb, your stomach churns, your head pounds with the pressure of everything you've seen. You stumble until the forest swallows you, until the village lights are gone, until you hear wolves in the distance, howling against the dark. You collapse beneath a tree and stare at the stars. Your hands tremble. Your breath comes in shallow gasps. Every nerve in your body feels frayed, like you've lived a century in just one day. And yet, somehow, you are still alive. As the night closes in and the cold bites through your borrowed cloak, One thought loops endlessly in your mind. You wouldn't last 24 hours in medieval times, and yet you did.